All right, we're going to talk about how to actually take this to the printer and print it, the laser cutter and excuse me, laser cutter and engrave it. There we go. First thing we want to do is get our piece of material and figure out where on that piece we want to actually put our artwork and engrave and cut it out, engrave it and cut it out of. Something that will help you line this up with an area of a piece of acrylic that maybe has a hole cut out of it, or somebody else used it for a project. Maybe it's got a scratch on it or a crack or something. You can drag these guidelines, click on the ruler on the side and drag, and then release. And I can do the same thing from the top down. And basically what I'm doing is I'm doing this at the same time I'm looking at a piece of acrylic and measuring it with a ruler or a tape measure to find an area where I can actually cut this out of that hasn't been used before. If I zoom in on the rulers, I can see fairly accurately where I need to have my artwork on my document, so that when I print it, it prints in the right location, or when I engrave it rather, it engraves in the right location. So once you have that done, you can come up and click either the print button here or go to File, Print. Make sure that the laptop you're using is connected and it's using the Epilogue engraver as its printer and not an OfficeJet or an HP printer. You're going to click on this Preferences. What you'll get is this box, this blue dialog box. There's a bunch of things in here that you as the user of this need to adjust and make sure that the settings are correct in order for you to cut and engrave. First, change your piece size to 32 by 20. That will make what the laser sees match up with what you did in Corel Draw, and you won't have an issue there with that. The next thing we're going to do is change our raster settings. Raster is a term that they use for engraving. Vector is a term that they use for cutting. Different materials require different speed and power. So, if you come on to the Uxbridge High STEM site, there's a document that we've been using all year to kind of catalog and locate. We can edit these as well. Different speed and power settings for different materials. Let's say, for example, we're going to use acrylic. We're going to do an engraving for the Rolling Stones logo and the text, and we're going to use the cutting settings for the rectangle on the outside. My engraving settings will be 600 dots per inch, which is how many times the laser fires and hits on each inch. Its speed will be 90 and its power will be 60. So I go over to Corel and I change those numbers. Speed will be 90. Power will be 60. And my dots per inch is 600. For that cutting section where I want to cut out the rectangle, I want to come over here to cutting. It depends on the thickness of the acrylic you have. Most of what we have is 1/8 of an inch. So I want to use 100 frequency, 4 speed, and 100 power. So speed will be like 4. These numbers will come right up. You can just slide these right up to 100. Everything should be good. Make sure that your job is a combined job, which what that means is it will do its rastering first, its engraving first, and then it will do its cutting. Click OK. You should get a preview of what and where your artwork is located on the printer or the vector grid on the laser engraver. From here, you should click print and the laptop should send the job over to the printer. If it doesn't, we have an issue that I need to help you solve. That's about all I can do tonight. I don't have a printer hooked up to this. I'm in my house, so we'll continue this once we get back to school.